A hysterectomy. Okay.
Total laparoscopic hysterectomy, bilateral sulfonectomy, cystoscopy.
More periods. That we can promise. So we're taking the uterus, the cervix, the fallopian tubes, the ovaries stay. That's what make your hormones. You should not feel menopausal after this. And then we'll put a camera inside the bladder just to check that everything is good.
Okay.
When we're done with surgery.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah.
In the small chance that the uterus is just too big to fit out the vagina.
Yeah, that for...
Yeah. Then we make like a C-section cut, but small.
Yeah, but is it like similar to the C-section recovery?
No.
Oh, okay.
Less. Because the cut will be much smaller.
Okay.
And the C-section recovery, like you're doing a lot of big surgery in your tummy.
Okay, yeah.
The big surgery is being done laparoscopically.
Okay.
Yeah, but in the small event that we do have to do that, then you'd stay overnight.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, are you able to take pictures of the fibroids?
Joey, do you want me to take pictures? Yeah, absolutely. No problem. We have a special consent for that, but even if we haven't signed it, we'll just make sure that everybody knows you want me to.
Okay. Because I've never seen them.
Yeah. I can take pictures with the camera, and I can also just take a picture of the actual uterus once it's out with my phone.
Okay. Breakfast is served. We have, I think this is coffee. Cornflakes. With almond milk. Apple juice. Styrofoam bowl. Plastic spoon. This is cold white toast. And that's it. Cutlery. For the toasts. Peanut butter, margarine, and then coffee whitener. Bon appetit.
like they're not really trying to give me the pain meds that I deserve. It's like they're rationing it after I came off the push button meds. They're testing me, and it's a fail. Like, it's just crazy sore, like they're all being filmed, and it's uncomfortable to want to get up and maneuver to the washroom. Ugh. Okay, so it is day 3 post-op. Feeling a lot like myself today, but pain is still absolutely present, and I feel super bloated. Let's do a quick recap. So, day 1, I come in as scheduled for my 9 a.m. procedure. I arrive at 7 a.m. I go through the series of registration forms, etc. to get started for 9 a.m. A series of different surgeons and specialists come in to talk to you about the different things that are taking place throughout the surgery, and then the people who will follow up with you afterward. So 9 o'clock comes and we're good to go. I come out of post-op just not really sure what's going on, and I'm being told that I am staying overnight. So the initial surgery that was planned actually got converted, which I was told was a possibility in advance. I think just due to the size of my fibroids, typically I kind of anticipated that much, but not really, because it just seemed really confident that I would be going home. So I didn't go home. And it's now Sunday. I arrived on Friday, it's now Sunday. And so what happened? Alright, so I had the laparoscopic hysterectomy, but due to the nature of the size of the fibroid, they had to do a C-section instead. So basically I got 2 procedures done in one, and that was just to simplify the process of removing it because it was too big to take it out laparoscopically, which makes the recovery a bit more intense, right? And I mean, I've had a C-section in the past, but that was many, many years ago, so I'm not too unfamiliar with how that looks and feels, but to have the recovery with the dual procedures, I think it's a little bit challenging for my body. For the first 48 hours, I received the medication self-controlled through a button that was by my bedside. They took it away now, but anytime I felt pain, I could just press that button and it would release the medication. So I guess to kind of identify the scheduling or whatever, the proper scheduling for the medication when I go home, and the dosages. They are monitoring me based on a schedule and also as per my request. So I have a scheduled time to take medication, and then if I request it, then they can issue it and make a note of it. Something like that. My doctor had said that I shouldn't be afraid to ask for the medication, that I should request it and not try to bear it, because it helps them to figure that stuff out. So yeah, after the first 24 hours, pretty drowsy. It was really hard for me to focus, to complete sentences without falling asleep, to text without falling asleep. I just was not making sense. So very disoriented for a little bit, and I just mostly slept. Yesterday I did a little bit more napping, but not as much as I did the first 24 hours. And when I'm under the pain medication, I feel more comfortable to be mobile, so I'll take the IV rack thing, this, and use it kind of in a walker to support me while I'm literally taking baby steps to where I need to go, but I'm still functional, I'm still mobile. So they're basically going to check in with me today to make sure that my bowels are in full operation, and that will get me to go home. So I've been trying to drink tea and other things, but yeah, you have to be able to remember to or pass gas before you leave, so that they know that your body is fully awake and functional before you exit the hospital. I cannot be back and forth, so I need to get whatever I need to get done, and just be in full rest mode. So maybe a little bit of history behind my fibroids and all of that. So this is actually my third surgery on fibroids. I had 2 previous myomectomies by the same surgeon due to large fibroids that were impacting my quality of life. So they cause a lot of excessive heavy bleeding and pain. The first time I discovered my fibroids, it was through my original family doctor. So I had to do an ultrasound for something. I don't really remember, something really basic. And then he was giving me an update, and he was like, oh yeah, your fibroids are fine. They're this size. I was like, fibroids? What are fibroids? I don't know what you're talking about. So that's the first time it came to my knowledge, but he said they were the size of a grape and they weren't problematic. Probably within the next year or so, they became problematic. During that time, I also had some complications. I experienced an ectopic pregnancy, and I kind of found like I wasn't getting the answers. I didn't have the awareness that I desired in terms of what was happening with my body. So I took the plunge and finally changed my doctor. Now that was my family doctor that I had for many years. All of my siblings, we went to him. So it was kind of hard to break that relationship, but at that point it was necessary because he was also aging and I felt like he wasn't as attentive as he used to be. Basically, that was the best decision that I had ever made. She absolutely changed my quality of life. I am forever grateful to her, just because my life would not be the same without the supports that she offered me in the short period of time that I was her patient.
During the week of my first surgery's follow-up appointment, my doctor was reported missing. She later became a victim of a domestic homicide. I'm going to leave details in the description box below for anybody interested in learning the full story, and also just FYI, so you're fully aware of the dangers that are out there. Because domestic violence doesn't discriminate. This is another friendly reminder to be kind to people because you never know what people are going through.
Due to unforeseen circumstances that I won't go into, but it's public knowledge, she is no longer here with us. But again, I will forever be grateful to her. She actually initiated the relationship between me and my current OB/GYN or gynecologist, and which is why she has done all of my surgeries to date. So the 2 myomectomies and now this final hysterectomy. My throat is still a bit groggy because they put the tubes in. So since I came up, I've been really, my voice is very harsh and hoarse. I find I'm clearing my throat a lot and clearing my voice is in and out. So that's another thing that's been happening. But ultimately, I've just been trying to stay hydrated. Okay, so yeah, back to the history. Then I finally went to her and explained kind of what my experiences were, and she had me, she brought me up to speed about my fibroids, and then I was scheduled to have my first myomectomy within a matter of months. So that was something that my regular family doctor couldn't do in a matter of like months to years. So once I had that first surgery done, like I could absolutely feel like how much it's shifted my quality of life. Because before then, I was having extremely heavy bleeding. I could easily bleed through my clothes. Like I could bleed through an ultra tampon plus a heavy pad plus my clothing in like an hour. And so that's extremely excessive and obviously a big red flag for anemia. So I was able to get that surgery done quickly and then just monitoring. So that was in 2016 when I had the first surgery. And then in 2021, I had the second surgery. So the nature of the conditions were pretty much the same. I mean, when the fibroids are growing, you don't really know. As I had mentioned, I lost my doctor, so I didn't have anyone to follow up with for an extended period of time. Like the appointment that I had to follow up for my first surgery was around the time that we had lost her. So it took me a very long time to get a new doctor and then kind of get everything sorted from there. So 2021, I already had a new doctor, but that's when the symptoms started returning. It was like January, February 2021, and like I was in a meeting and I was experiencing excruciating pain. Now I have one child that I delivered through C-section because late in breech. So I'm not entirely familiar with labor, like labor pains and such, because I didn't experience that in my pregnancy. And then my regular period, let me tell you, so my regular period is actually very light, and it's like 3 to 5 days. And day 3 might be the heaviest, or it fluctuates, but my regular, like normal period is like 3 to 5 days light. So there's a drastic difference between my fiber period and my regular period. I'm not quite sure where we left off. I'm having a little bit of difficulty retaining my urine, but we move. Alright, so in 2016, I had my first fibroid surgery. Everything went well. Absolutely shifted my quality of life. I could see the difference between what like your cycle was actually supposed to be versus the nightmare that I was experiencing.
But then we fast forward to 2021, and I'm starting to experience excruciating pain during my cycle in January. I'm at work, we're in a meeting, and I feel like I'm experiencing contractions. And I haven't even had contractions in my pregnancy, so everything was just rare to me. It was just excessive pain. So then trying to go through it, realize like I can't sit through it, decided to go to the washroom, and that's where the nightmare begins, okay? So, let alone I'm not in the comfort of my own home experiencing this, I have to go to the public washroom, which is like an individual washroom at my workplace, and so I go there and it's just explosive. So basically the contractions were behind the blood clots. So every time I went to pass a clot, I would go through a series of contractions. So I had been going through contractions for an extended period of time throughout the first part of that meeting. So by the time I went to the washroom to release it, it was like excessive. Like it could have been like a handful like of intestines. That's how the fibroids, the blood clots kept coming out every time I went to the washroom. And that was every single time I went to the washroom for the rest of that day. And so, because I'm not used to those type of like period pains or whatever, I wasn't really equipped. So at work, there's a lot of women that work in the space. So they had the hot water pad or heating pad, and then they had given me, I think, Tylenol and a leaf, or that's my usual combo. Anyways, that helped like almost immediately, and I felt better and at least calm enough to go home. So at that point, I'm monitoring my cycle. So that was the first cycle I experienced that, and then it happened again in February. So then that's where we really started to raise like red flags, like what is going on. So same symptoms: heavy bleeding, excessive clots, and extremely painful clots. Like it felt like, I don't know, like ripping Velcro from my like insides. Like, oh my god, like brutal. And then yeah, they would be really large and excessive. Like it's almost like a diarrhea of clots. And so that's extremely stressful to experience as well. And for me, someone who's experienced losses, like it's very reminiscent of that, and it just plays on your head negatively. So I dreaded that. So then by the time we got to March, we're talking March 2020. So that's the start of the pandemic. And at that point, I was like, okay, I've had 2 excruciatingly painful periods. I want to follow up with my doctor, but can't because we're not booking appointments and no one knows literally what's going on in the world. So I just continued to monitor it because I wasn't entirely sure what it was. Like with my previous period, my previous cycles, I didn't really experience that type of heaviness and clotting until very near to my surgery date. And so the surgery relieved all of that, obviously, but this just came out of nowhere. And so by the time we got to March 2020, I couldn't do anything about it. And so we're also all learning how to work from home and transitioning in all these weird ways. And so not much attention was brought to it. And it's a monthly cycle as well. So I was distracted by all things. And then we get to March and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is happening again. In April, it's happening again. So, but there was nothing I could do about it because we were only having virtual appointments, and this is not something that you can really deal with virtually. I didn't think we were having virtual appointments at that point. But it came down to I want to say September, October, I can't remember exactly, but it was a series of months that I was experiencing this bleeding and sitting in front of my computer and doing my work and making presentations
So that means I could only get up during certain points of time of the day because I was doing presentations in front of people on the computer. So when I would get up, then I would get that gush, rush, and then honestly, again, you soak through a tampon, a pad, and your clothes. So the good thing about it was that I was already at home, so that I could just rush upstairs, take a shower, change my clothes, and everyone would essentially be none the wiser. But then I started to get excessively tired. So I wasn't sure if it was like the pandemic, am I depressed, am I lazy, I don't know. But I was just excessively tired, and I'm not really a nap person, and I needed to take a nap. Like I felt very, very difficult for me to stay awake during the day. So I had to notify my employer, like, this is what I'm experiencing, and there was some allowance for that. So if I were to take like an hour nap or so, like on top of my lunch, then I would just extend my work day for that same amount of time. So that was very accommodating, and that helped a lot, but I didn't know what the root cause of it was. Eventually, my doctor had requested for me to do some blood work, and then when I completed the blood work, she like called me like right away as soon as she got the results, and was a bit frantic, like, I need you to go to the closest emergency, and get a blood transfusion. I was like, hold on, like, what's going on? That's confusing. I cannot do that. Like, where I live, like, it just would be absurd. It would be a waste of time, especially during COVID. We're not making just casual trips to the emergency and making requests and demands for a blood transfusion. That doesn't make sense. You need some type of paperwork. You need something, whatever. And so I was like, are there any other options that I can explore? And so she suggested that I come down to her office and get iron infusions. So basically, you go there, they hook you up to the machine, and they pump the iron into you intravenously for 3 hours straight. So you're just sitting here, and the iron is just flowing through your body. And so I did that for 3 hours straight for 4 weeks, once a week, and that brought my iron levels up because I literally had no red blood cells. And the scary thing about that was, like, it was during, like, I'm more of a homebody, and especially during the that much more. So I wasn't really going outside, but like, had I caught COVID, been extremely difficult for me to recover, if any. So that was very alarming to me, that I was so ill and I did not know. I barely had enough red blood cells to recover from a bruise, much less a respiratory illness. So yeah, we did that, and then started to make plans for my second surgery. So that happened in April 2021. Kind of business as usual. Nothing really stands out for me then. It was just a matter of making sure that I had the right follow-up within a timely manner. So that's April 21, and we're just kind of going through it, monitoring. Nothing really, I'm just self-monitoring. And then I requested a follow-up appointment. But then, due to the nature of extremely extenuating circumstances with a family member, things got pushed back, and I wasn't prepared to really take that on in such a timely manner. So by the time I was to have my follow-up appointment, it was probably like, I don't know, February, March, around that time, February, March, April of 2022. So that got pushed back by a couple months. So that's why there's a major gap between my first surgery, follow-up, and second surgery. Before you do anything, you need to do a sonohysterogram and an ultrasound. And that gives them something to look at when you do have your appointment to discuss the next steps for surgery. So with ultrasound results and the sonic histogram results showed that I did have a massive fibroid that had returned. And so at this point, we're talking about a third myomectomy, and it was a matter of, are you planning to have children? If so, then we can do a third myomectomy and then work from there. So you can start fresh, get pregnant within a year, and then go from there. If you aren't going to have more children, then it's strongly advised for a hysterectomy. So that was a very emotionally driven decision. Although I do have a child already, 20, you still, as a woman, you still want to have the option, right? You don't want anybody to dictate to you that you can't have any more children. You want to make that decision for your own and always have the option to do so. And then just due to the nature of things, again, that were happening in my family, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't making a too emotionally charged decision for right or wrong reasons, right? So they gave me about a month or so to sit with that. And I came back and I decided that I wanted to go forward with the hysterectomy just because I was just really looking forward to changing my quality of life once again. I was just tired of living with the excessive pain and the unknown, having to experience the same symptoms on a monthly basis and monitoring, and then just too many excessive surgeries with scar tissues. I've had a C-section before, an ectopic, 2 myomectomies. So it's just like, it's not really going to be helpful to my body in general to keep going through these procedures. And I felt like also at my age to have a pregnancy would be extremely challenging as well. I did mention I had ectopic pregnancy in my past, so pregnancy complications start from the second I become pregnant. So that was a lot to deal with. And so, yeah, it kind of led to the reasoning why I decided to pursue the hysterectomy. There is also a history in my family of fibroids and other gynecological issues. So I just wanted to bypass that and just kind of start my future fresh. And here we are. So yeah, it's day 3 of the hysterectomy. I guess I will also put in a picture of what they removed so you can get a sense of what I was working with. The fibroid in my uterus, so there's a series of fibroids, 2 I believe, totaled about 14 centimeters, so it was enormous. So like it was basically like equivalent to a large mango, and I think that's like 4, 5, 6 months pregnant. So that was extremely uncomfortable to work with on a day-to-day basis. My stomach was absolutely poking out, and yeah, sometimes people ask you, are you pregnant? It's just like awkward. So yeah, just to restart my quality of life, and then here we are. It's day 3. I'm still in the hospital after my surgery. I'm ready to go home. We're just making sure that my body has properly reset and has all of the things, working parts in order for me to go home. Now, as soon as possible, I would really not like to sleep here another day. So I did not plan on doing anything. I mentioned I didn't plan on staying overnight in the hospital. I was scheduled for a day surgery, which converted into overnight, and this is now the 3rd day. So I arrived on Friday. It is now Sunday, and I'm hoping to get the clearance to go home for the end of the day. The hospital staff has been absolutely gracious. Also, due to the nature of another condition, so I actually have sleep apnea. I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. I use a CPAP machine. They asked me to bring a CPAP. It was necessary for me to use that to make sure that my breathing was okay, especially in recovery mode. So for the first 2 days, I had ICU visiting me to check in as well, just to make sure that I didn't need to be admitted to ICU due to any complications. So I've been able to use my CPAP machine. It was absolutely necessary for me on the first day because I felt like, as I mentioned, I kept like falling asleep, and there was at one point where I like fell asleep and woke up gasping. And so that was a red flag for me, and I refused to sleep at all without the CPAP. And so like at first I was like, I don't want to bring that with me, like that's doing too much. But then in my mind I was like, if there is for whatever reason like a life-saving situation, isn't it better to be prepared rather than, oh my gosh, I should have just brought it with me? Like, that's ridiculous. So I brought it with me, and in fact I did need it. And they expected me to sleep with it every day. I'm still kind of in training with it as well, so I don't necessarily sleep with it on the entire night, but I do my best. I think that's about it for day 1 to day 3. I'll keep you updated as we continue to go along. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I get to leave this place today. Okay, so yesterday was my first full day home, and I feel like it gets easier and easier every day. Oh, sorry, in terms of the pain and just overall processing. Like regardless, I feel like regardless of the nature or the source of your decision, it's still an emotional experience. So I realized at some point yesterday that I was kind of going through the stages of grief. Just processing everything and what that looks like for my future, regardless of the reason why I did it and the confidence I had behind that decision. In my mind, I'm still going back and forth, but it's all good. It's just part of the process. My face is still swollen. Still a significant amount of swelling throughout the body. Alright, so I made it through the majority of my first day back home, my first full day back home. I was able to take a full shower, and that was really refreshing and a nice reset to kind of set the tone to get comfortable and cozy. So similar to like when I was in the hospital, I'm still on the meds and they still make you drowsy. So a lot of sleep, a lot of fatigue, a lot of like physical fatigue. So I can only do so much. Like, because I have stairs in my house as well, going up and down the stairs to use the washroom can be quite exhaustive. So don't try to go to the washroom and then make something to eat and kind of like your regular routine. Impossible. Your body's just, or my body's just starts to feel tight and exhausted. So take little breaks in between stuff. I've had a few more options, so I'm just kind of pecking and snacking on the things that I like versus hospital food 3 times a day. So I'm eating a little bit more, but I'm eating very few, like small mini portions of whatever I'm snacking on. I was able to take laxatives, so my digestive system is kind of resetting it as well. And that's an experience, but I think it's necessary also to flush out the toxins and the medications from the surgery. So that's understandable. I've been kind of trying to stretch the medication. I don't think that's ideal after today anyway. I don't think it's ideal. I think it's just best to stick with a medication schedule rather than like pushing it and then having the pain kick in and then you're waiting for the medication to kick in, because that's just torture. And yeah, so I'm situated in the living room space of my home. So that's like the midsection of my home. My living room sofa reclines, so it's just the ideal setup for me. So just well padded with pillows and like supportive pillows and that kind of thing, so that I can maneuver. And then it's easy for me to access the kitchen and other things like that. For the washroom, I just take my time going up and down the stairs and it works out. The only thing with like last night, like yesterday, going to the washroom was like the pacing. So when you're in the hospital, like I had a private room, so the washroom was just beside it, just beside the bed. And so even then it was difficult for me to like hold my pee and get to the toilet on time. Like it was like I didn't really have full control. So now being home and having the washroom upstairs, I'm absolutely challenging myself trying to experience the sensation, get up and then make my way up the stairs and then finally to the toilet. But I found that as of today I have a little bit more grace period, like more of a grace period to actually get to the washroom. But definitely don't push it. Like once you feel the sensation, just keep it pushing, because you're gonna have an accident. What else? Yeah, today's just a bit more about relaxation and getting accustomed to the space and whatever my routine is going to be, at least for the next 2 weeks, experiencing this stage of the recovery. And that's it for day 4. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, today's Monday, I believe, so we're on day 4, pre-op. Okay, so it's been 1 week post-op. I'm looking mad dusty, but I'm in a better position to give an update. I think just even my speech and just everything is so different from how I was looking and feeling a few days ago. The surgery was on Friday, June the 2nd. Today is Friday, June 9th. I came home on the Sunday, and so I've been home for a few days now, but not home for a full week.
It's only when I'm like in that like workout mood. I've been working out for a little bit, and I went 4 days last week, so maybe that's why I'm in this mood, but I don't know. My trainer said the gym got new squat equipment and she's ready to use it, so I was like, nope, I'm not even going to do that to myself.